And I think we're live. Maybe. There we are. Hello, everyone. I am here with Josh and Russell. And Josh, you were the TO at Frozen in the Chosin, the Korean War event that took place recently. Welcome, both of you. Russell, you participated, right?
Yes, I did. I was very pleased to take part.
Yes. And Josh, how did you come up with this mad idea of running Korean War event when nobody else does it?
Well, it was we attended a doubles event with the club South Wales Warlords put on last year,
Yeah.
and after leaving that, I used a bit of a silly 500-point all shirkers, all inexperienced army, and I left it. And I thought, you know what, it'd be really nice if somebody actually did a Korean War event. Looked online, couldn't find anyone running one. I thought, you know what, I'll just put one on myself and see if there's any interest in it.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, there was quite a bit of interest.
Yeah, how many people actually turned up?
There was 16 booked in, and we had 15 turn up on the day.
That's a pretty good turnout. Yeah.
I was very pleased. The original theory in my head was I'd be lucky to get 8, maybe 10 people, but ending up with 15 turning up on the day was more than I expected.
Yeah. And what was the actual pack here? It says 1250 points single platoon. Did you have equal amounts of communists and UN?
It wasn't equal. There was a slight disparity. So out of the 16 people booked in, I had 10 UN players booked in and 6 communists. So it wasn't too far off, which did surprise me slightly. I did expect it to be more like 2 communists and 14 UN players in the end. But
now, I don't know the Korean War book at all. So could you guys talk me through what you think was why would you expect there to be a lot more UN forces? Is that just because more people collect Americans, I guess?
Yeah, pretty much. So with the Korean War, any late war British or American army could just be ported straight over because the uniforms were essentially the same. The equipment was the same. As for the communist side, the Chinese had lots of old Soviet gear, but then so did the North Koreans. The uniforms were slightly different for the North Koreans, but any Soviet box set would work perfectly well.
Mm. And Russell, what were you bringing?
I brought North Koreans, and the reason I did it was I suspected, as Josh said, that you might have more trouble getting communists. So I went and bought the starter set for North Korea from Warlord. I think I had to add in the end an extra 2 boxes of infantry.
Okay. What are the North Koreans like as an army? What do they play like?
Basically, the rules are basically the same as the Soviet rules. It's slightly different, as in the free squad is 10 man instead of 12. But most of the rules are exactly the same. So it's quite easy. If you've played a Russian army and you wanted to get into this, play North Koreans, and it's so easy to play.
Okay. What about the Chinese during the Korean War? We see here a very nicely painted and assembled Chinese army. What are they like?
They're not far off their rules in the what's it called, Empire in Flames book.
Yeah.
The only difference is that they get their version of the German Blitzkrieg rule, where their officers can snap to 2 units, an extra unit above their level, but it has to be infantry only to represent the human wave tactics they used.
Right. And 15 players. Did you actually end up having 1 player sit over each round, or what happened there?
Yeah, that was slightly unfortunate. So I thought I'd checked everyone in at the start of round 1, and then one of the players came at me and said, I'm missing my opponent. I was like, okay, no worries, I'll have a quick look. Ended up ringing the guy's number, and he said, oh, no, sorry, I couldn't make it. And someone did volunteer to bring a spare army of South Koreans with them. Not going to name who it was now, but I did quickly ask and say, have you got it? Because I'll jump in and just have a ringer list and see what I can do. Probably not very well. Unfortunately, he didn't bring it with him. So in the end, I did speak to him, and I said, look, I'm awfully sorry. And he was like, no, I'm happy just to sit, watch, have a chat.
Yeah.
See whatever. And then a couple of club mates then basically come up to me and said, "Look, I know you're in a little bit of a pinch. I'm just happy to just sit, have a beer, and watch." To be honest with you, so I do want to say a massive thank you to the two players that did do that for me.
Oh, that's really nice. Russell, can I ask you? You played in the event, and you and I are more maybe competitive players than Josh is. I don't I don't actually know Josh.
I don't know about that. Wait till you play him. You say that.
I'll wait
Wait until you play him.
I have my moments, but I do tend to prefer the theme more than the competitive.
Yeah. So this is basically first a question for Russ, and then for you, Josh. Russell, how do you feel like moving into those late war armies? And now on the screen here, we have a very lovely picture of a British army with, post-war armor in the list here. How do you feel that changed up stuff? Were there anything that you expected, or what did it feel like to play 1950s?
It's exactly like playing a 1945 game, to be honest.
Yeah.
The differences are pretty small. The US forces maybe have got a couple more toys in terms of access to jet fighters. Their medics are better.
Yep.
The British have got that beautiful Centurion tank. But I have to say, other than that, you're not really, in my view, seeing anything really different. So.
Okay. What about you, Josh?
Not really. I put the points up to 1250 to see if I could entice bigger tanks, and there was a lot more bigger tanks. But generally, there wasn't anything that stuck out. Nobody took any of the really weird stuff, such as the more helicopters, getting artillery barrages and stuff like that. Everyone just took generally what they take for 1945, Russians, British, or Americans. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I've not seen anything in the armies we've been looking over while we're talking here, except the Centurion, of course. This Chinese army that looks perfectly fine for Second World War as well, and the Americans are a little late, but not massively so.
Speaking of which, that Sherman there, have you noticed what's different about it, Bo?
Ooh, there's an extra barrel on the turret.
Yes, there is. It's one of the experimental ones produced in the late 40s that they deployed to Korea. It's actually got a medium howitzer and a coaxial flamethrower.
That's insane! Wow. Do you know who ran this army? Because
that's actually a club member of mine. That's Joe Clapham. That is, because he's also got in the bottom top right hand corner there. He's actually got stand-in for the Sergeant Reckless pony that the U.S. Marines used.
Yeah. So, did you know how the tank did on the day?
I am aware it went toe to toe with a T-34-85 and lost.
Okay.
As for the rest of them, I'm not entirely sure. I think it did go off with an AVRE as well. I'm not entirely sure how that worked.
So it's still a Sherman then.
It's still a Sherman. It's still got all the downsides of a Sherman.
Yeah. And it is massively tall. I can tell that as well. Yeah. A very nicely painted army though. Really, and a cool display board as well. Right. Here we have. What is this? It's Americans also, right?
That's Americans. That was a gentleman who messaged me and said, I really want to do an army actually based on the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir.
Yeah.
So he's got an American platoon there as well as an allied South Korean platoon there as well. So that's why it does look a bit like a double platoonish.
It does, yeah. MMG teams up here, I think. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 3 machine gun teams, 2 howitzers, and the M16 meat chopper.
Oof. Yeah. So quite good armies. Was there like did there develop a meta for what you brought? Like how many dice did people bring for this event?
It was quite all over the place. I did have one player turn up with 7 dice, and I did wonder what that was. And it turns out he took a veteran Churchill crocodile, which was nearly 600 points down straight away. So I had both ends of the spectrum. I had people on 7 points all the way, 7 dice even, all the way up to about, I think the maximum was close to 17, 18 dice.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. So not massively competitive, but good for a thematic event. There
there was quite a few ringer lists in there that actually did quite well.
Yeah. What did you do for tables? Because most people's collections are not really good for South Korea. Is the South End Club, is that good for that?
So I ended up putting on 2 of the tables myself, the MASH 407 7th board, and there's a little village with a river running through it. I brought them myself. 3 of them were from Firestorm Games themselves, which were really lovely. The Frozen board came from a club member. I can't remember his name now for the life of me, James Devine. Reese also brought his Ruined board, which was representing the Battle of Seoul. And then one of the other fellas I know brought a lovely Japanese village board, which just fitted perfectly.
Brilliant. It's always nice when you can easily source tables and just have them go into a sort of common theme. So did you sort of try to plan out, or did you just do a call out for the community to say, like, who can bring boards?
Firestorm said straight away, we can provide you with 5 tables. So I asked them what they were and give me a breakdown. 3 of them fit perfectly. So I said, I'll have those 3. I provided the 2, and then I know there was a winter board, so I was like, that'll obviously fit because of the whole theme of it, Frozen and the Chosin.
Yeah.
The 7th one, I thought I needed something a bit different, so I went for an urban ruined board. So I asked Reese ever so politely, and then I was one table short, and I was ringing around. I was like, has anyone got anything that would fit? And then I remember Carl, who I used to go to Monmouth with. He brought down the lovely Japanese village table for Test of Honor, and I said, look, you do me a massive favor and bring it on the day. And he said, yeah, no problem.
Perfect. Test of Honor. That, I mean, Japanese buildings are very similar to some Korean stuff. So yeah, right.
Just on that table, first things, you are right. Japanese had colonized Korea since about 1905.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of influence, and then the other thing as well. He was actually a bit late. So when I got allocated, because I was lucky, I got allocated that table. And it's like, yeah, go to table 1. And we went to table 1, and it was completely empty. It was just the mat. And kind of looked at my opponent. I did wonder whether is this deliberate? Is this some kind of really strange?
I was purposely going to set you up on that board, Russ. No terrain, no cover, nothing.
It would have killed me as well, Josh. Yeah, absolutely. My opponent would have ripped me to pieces on it. It's a shame he didn't get it. Really, it would have been interesting.
Yeah, well, I've heard about one event at one point where one table was completely bare. So, anyways,
I'd almost like to try that once just to see what it's like.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not. Unless you're bringing mobile artillery, it's really not good. Right. I'm guessing that this is your North Korean flanking in here, Russell?
Yeah, that's actually game 1. So that's game 1 on the Japanese table.
Yep.
There are a couple more photos. I just grabbed a few screenshots really before we started. And that was against an American force. That was Mike Parker's.
Yeah.
And I brought lots of bodies. So what I did was I didn't really want to bring any armor.
Yeah.
So I just brought 10-man units. So it was a big 10-man units, all veteran. And if I'm perfectly honest, the reason for that was I needed to get 1250 points on the table.
Yeah, and it
so I also had an artillery observer, and so I was buying expensive units so I could make the numbers up. But it worked really well, as it turned out.
Of course it does. 10-man veterans, they're really difficult to kill. So so this was this your first game, or was it later in the day?
That was the first game. And the other thing that Josh did at the tournament that was very good was he had specific missions on every table. So every round you'd be playing a different mission. Yep. They were missions that had been altered or were adjusted for Korea. And the other great thing was there was a secondary, so you had your traditional secondary on the board, but there were also tertiary missions. So things that you had to complete. And then to make it even more interesting, the tertiary, scoring a tertiary point was worth a point. And not towards winning the game or not, but towards the overall tournament score.
Yeah.
So you got 3 points for a win, 2 points for a draw, 1 point for a loss. And it meant the tertiaries and secondaries were far more important.
Push you quite a lot, couldn't they?
They were, So completing your tertiary mission, and they were fun missions, like side missions, was really important.
So on this table, what was the mission that you played, and what was the secondaries and tertiaries? Do you remember?
So that one there was a kill point mission.
Yep.
The secondary is in the center in a Japanese roundhouse, which is just off board. Maybe we'll see that in another shot.
Mm.
And what happened was I got a good lead. And one of the missions is it Invade the South? I think it's called something like that, Josh.
Yeah, into the south.
Into the south.
Yeah.
And you got a bonus point if you manage to get every single one of your units into your opponent's half. So that's what's going on there. There's me desperately trying to get units in.
You're just running ahead with all your veterans.
Basically, yeah. My opponent was brilliant. He realised what I was doing.
Yeah.
The game had been at a sedate pace, and then for the last turn or so, we did it really, really quickly. And he was such a gentleman. He was actually the result was gone, but he was actually firing mortars at my units that were still in my half of the board to try and help me, because if they died, it would help me score.
I missed that bit, obviously.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was really funny. It wasn't needed in the end, but it was such a nice gesture. And that was the atmosphere all the way through. It was a fun event.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant.
That went really well.
Yeah, brilliant. And here we have an objective battle as well. So
sorry, that's the center of the table you just saw.
That's everybody in the center.
Looks like it. Someone's gone crazy there. So that looks like a Chinese army taking on a British army from the looks of it. Is that right, Josh? Looks like it.
Yeah, it's got the Centurion in the background.
With a helicopter downed in the center as well. Oh my God! And there's cavalry in there. Everybody's charging the center.
So yeah, this is one of the funky missions. It's called Medevac Down.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's a couple of kill points, while the main objective is the helicopter, but it doesn't turn up until about turn 4 or 5, where it crashes randomly in the board. So everyone's kind of conservative until then, and then when the helicopter crashes, it's just a free-for-all to try and get on it and secure that objective late game. So I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the first one I played. I took a slightly different perspective. I just ran everything forward. Being North Korean, I wasn't particularly concerned if I took casualties. And do you remember Josh actually wandered over and was like, "Oh, that's a bit dangerous, isn't it?" And I kind of just shrugged my shoulders. I don't care. Like, yeah, I'll probably lose a couple, but we've got plenty more on AK.
Very North Korean of you, Russell. Very North Korean.
Yeah. I tried to stay in character.
Oh, and look at the snow on this table. It's a really lovely table. Yeah. And the frozen grass and the American bases here. Americans advancing. So this was Firestorm Games, right?
Yeah, Firestorm Games in Cardiff.
Yeah. We've been hearing stuff about Firestorm Games. It seems like a good venue.
It is a stupendous venue. I honestly can't rate them highly enough. And Russell himself has been up many, many times and gone to venues all across. So I'd imagine he's probably got some high opinions of the venue as well. I'm imagining, Russell.
Yeah. It's I've been to Firestorm before the move, and the venue then was good. This venue is even better. It's very impressive. So yeah, 10 out of 10 on the venue. The other thing, it's air conditioned, which is quite nice. So even though it's a hot day, because it was a hot day, you've got all these big glass windows, display windows, but temperature was never an issue. It's got a bar, as you can see at the back.
Yeah.
Got a little canteen.
That's the key feature of the site, the bar at the back.
Normally, yeah.
Very, very important, yeah. And here we can more or less see 5 of the tables here. Up here we got the MASH table with the medic tents. Yeah.
So yeah, in the top left you've got the MASH table with, I believe that's you. Is that you there, Russell?
That's me. Yeah, you see my belly sticking out there. Yeah.
Next door to that you've got the North Korean village with the river running through it. It's not the best photo.
No, but
there's another one in a moment of that one. So.
Right. And then next door to that you've got the Japanese village that Carl brought along. And then behind them, you
see some Stalingrad type buildings, which I guess is the Seoul table.
That's the Seoul table. And then next door to that, you've got the Chosin reservoir table, all frozen.
Yep. Right. Here we see another angle. Loads of people playing here. Was there another event going on as well?
Yeah, I believe. Don't quote me on this now. I think it was the 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battles European Championships of some kind.
Okay.
I know it was Warhammer of some kind.
Cool.
And just to add the pictures you're seeing there, that is just their mezzanine. You go downstairs and it's twice as large. So that's just a mezzanine
Wow.
for the club.
So it can actually fit like 100 players ish.
Oh, they had.
I was talking to one of the don't know what to call them on there. One of the staff members on the day. There was close to, I think it was 70 people on the mezzanine floor, and I think it was between 120 and 140 people downstairs playing a card game tournament as well.
Wow. So
they were fully booked that day.
Really, yeah, it can really stack up a lot of players. That's so cool.
And it never felt overcrowded though. They did a good job.
Now, what did you have in the prize support here? I really like the first, second, and third, small for your whiskey or whatever. Stick it in your pocket, frozen in the Chosin. What else did you put on the prize table here, Josh? Josh?
He may have just cut out, but I was having some internet issues as well. So
okay.
So whilst we wait, just to jump in there. So you've got the first, second, third place hip flasks, which are really different.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
And then the 5 medals above those, one for each nation. So you can see USA, UK, Commonwealth, North Korea, South Korea, China. They were issued when the game was originally created as like a launch event.
Yeah.
And Warlord provided Josh with some of those to give away. So I think he gave them to the best general in each category. So that's
very
what they
cool.
did. And then he had plenty of other prize support, enough that everybody got a prize. So even down to from the bottom.
Always good to see.
There you go. That shows that a bit better. And I know this doesn't include the Warlord's prize support from Warlord directly because it was delayed. It didn't come on time.
Okay.
So that was even before the Warlord prizes arrived.
Wow.
So he did a really nice job on that.
Wow. Very, very impressive. Somebody knows how to get prize support. I need to talk to Josh for my next tournament. That's amazing. Cool. Even a few helicopters, I guess.
Oh yeah, they were nice. So they're from Sarissa.
Yeah.
And they're the Bell helicopter that you saw on the table. So when you can see when it's painted, it's a really nice feature.
Yeah. Right. And here we have a picture of Buddha and that I guess is the table with the was that the river table?
No, that one's not the river table, but it is a village table. I didn't get to play on that one, I'm afraid.
Okay.
But look, I think Josh is back now. Maybe.
I'm back now. I'm not sure what happened there. Sorry.
Hey, he's back.
Right. We just we were going over the prize support here, Josh. I really like the hip flasks, first, second, third. Really nice touch. Who were your sponsors for all of this? Because that is a lot of prize support.
So I emailed about 12 companies to start with. 11 of them got back and said, what would you like? So off the top of my head now, and you can see it on the little Polly Pocket there, we had Warlord Games, obviously. First Core, Sarissa Precision, Coed Designs did the dice bags, Rubicon Games, Mad Bob Miniatures, Rich H did the 2 trophies you can see, the half-size bazooka and Piat rounds. Rampage Games did the flasks and the tokens for use for the objectives on the day, and Pen and Sword provided the 2 books there as well. I believe that's everybody. If I have missed anyone out, I am awfully sorry, but there was a lot of people.
Right. Otherwise, if you send them to me, I'll link in the description for everyone that you need to call out to. That's brilliant. We were just saying that this is really good. It's one of the things that many people underestimate how much work actually goes into getting prize support for this event. It's a lot of companies you sit writing and communicating with. I'm really in awe of your nice job on this, Josh. Really nice job.
I was actually surprised by the response I had, because when I emailed them out, a few of them, I expected a lot of people to go, oh, it's kind of niche, I don't really want to. They all got back and said, yeah, sure, what do you want? And First Core in particular, I emailed them and said, oh, could I have, because they do a small Korean war range, can I have a pack of British and a pack of Chinese?
Mm.
And they said, yeah, no problem, we'll send you stuff. Had nothing off them for a little while, and all of a sudden the box turns up with 6 packs. And I was like, that's a lot more than what I expected.
Yeah.
And the
really
coins,
nice.
The coins there you can see came from John Russell over in America. He shipped them out especially because they would be the last ones available in the UK at the time.
Very, very cool. Did you hand those out to the best general in each nation?
Yes. So the best general for the British, the Americans, the Chinese, and North Koreans walked away with one. Nobody played South Korean, sadly, so I decided to give that to the person that walked away with wooden spoon as a little thank you for just turning up.
Yeah. Right. Then we have the tables here. We've already talked a little bit about those. Were there any like special features that was career oriented or that doesn't fit into the normal terrain rules, sort of?
Not really. Some of the missions did have little quirks.
Yeah.
So the Frozen one, I copied these from the Korean book. And I did alter them slightly. So that one, for example, with the cold, every unit at the start of the game had to take a morale test, and for each point they lost by, they lose a guy to frostbite.
Ooh.
Which if you got a lot of experience, guys, that could really affect you.
That could hurt you. That could really hurt you. Yeah.
Also on that one, there was all the open terrain, all the open ground counts as rough ground for movement purposes only, but you don't get any cover from it to represent the deep snow on the table, which slowed a lot of people down.
Yeah, that is going to hurt. That's going to hurt a lot.
However, if you were running communists and if you're running the Chinese, which the one guy did, they get their free move before the game begins. They get a free 9-inch move on the board.
Yep.
And then the majority of their stuff ignores terrain on turn 1, so they can run up the board turn 1 as well. So that really
that's a good board for the Chinese communists then.
Yeah, it did fit the theme as well, because the Americans were bogged down heavily and the Chinese were quite light-footed.
Yeah. Really cool. And here's the mash table. We've seen this before on this channel as well. I really like those tents. They're really, really cool. And this was yours, all of it?
Yes, that's all stuff I own. So the tents were 3D printed and just a little spray job on it, not far off.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they're called now, but those huts, they've probably got a proper name, but the huts are made by a club member, Joe. He's amazing with terrain. The helipad is from Sarisa Precision, and the hedges are just scrubs. The fields are just doormats, as you expect. The roads are made by Joe as well. Realistically, this is Joe's board more than anyone else, because he's made about 80% of the terrain on it for me. So
only one thing that I really feel that this board needs, and that is a special 3D print of all the characters from the TV show, and just standing in corners.
I don't know if Russell's got a photo of it, but I did have the Warlord Games MASH set, and they were on the helipad later on.
Nice. And here we have the river board that you were playing on. Did you guys play the river as rough ground, Russell?
Yeah, we did. We played it as difficult. Otherwise, at that point, you can't flank, basically, or you can't do anything on that flank. So yeah, actually, no one crossed the river during the game, so it was irrelevant in the end. But
yeah, well, it often happens that rivers sort of dominate the board and decide where people deploy, and they'll deploy away from rivers most of the time. And you had to rescue the bus or what in this mission?
I'll let Russell go on, because
no, Josh, you ran it, so you go for it, sir.
All right, so this is an objective mission, and it did state in the pack that all the objective markers would be a standard size. But to make this slightly interesting, I changed it on this mission especially to make the entire bus the objective marker, so it was an extremely large objective marker.
That does change how you play it a lot, quite a lot.
Yeah, so you can't really just surround it with one infantry squad. It's going to take 2 or 3 squads to surround that.
Yeah, and you're going to spend a lot of your infantry as well to clear out enemies if they actually reach the bus as well. That's going to be difficult to defend. Here are the results at the end. So Russell, you had 17 points in total. That makes you the winner, I guess.
Yeah, that's correct.
Russell, is this being starting to be a trend? You're the Welsh champion, and now you're also the Korea champion.
Can I now be the champion of Korea as well because of this?
I think you can.
I think you are. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's interesting there is, first of all, the nations. Look at the spread on the nations; they are all over the place.
They are.
There is no dominant nation, and that's almost that's like a breath of fresh air, really, to go to a tournament where it's not all Brits at the top or someone else at the top. So that's good.
Yeah.
And then you can see just with the scoring, where it's 3 points for a win, 2 for a draw, 1 for a loss. Secondaries and tertiaries suddenly are really important.
Really important.
There was a bonus. You could score 2 extra bonus points. I'll let Josh explain that, but I thought personally this was brilliant. So,
what happened there, Josh?
So to keep this more of a themed and not a competitive event, I decided to put 2 bonus points in. One of which was a fully painted army, which is pretty standard. But then, being as niche as this is, if anybody wanted to run Russians but they didn't want to paint them a certain colour and use them for World War II, that's completely fine with me.
Yeah.
And secondly was if you turned up with 0 flamethrowers and multi-launchers.
You got a second point for that?
So Russell got a point, and it wasn't for turning up with no multi-launchers or flamethrowers.
I didn't have any flamethrowers in my defence. I had 1 multi-launcher. And I didn't even bring it. I had to borrow it from someone, so I don't own one.
And a quick little note there, Russ. A couple of the guys, you've got them the wrong way round.
Yeah.
Have I? Oh, do apologise.
Yeah, the unit's lost.
Oh, right. Okay. So that was the secondary, wasn't it? The unit's lost. That was.
The units lost was to sort out the ties. So you've got Gerard and Chris there on ties. Whoever lost the least units would trump.
Oh, it was who lost the least. Oh, okay. I thought it was part of the theme. It was who lost the most.
No.
I should know my own rules. There's me throwing units away.
Yeah.
Could have cost me the game.
Oh. Right.
I think most units lost is better, actually, if you think about it.
More force preservation than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can see one of the interesting things about your pack here at the bottom. Not so much at the top, but I just noticed in the bottom here, he actually won 1 game, had 2 draws, but he finished lower than Carl, who lost all 3 games, just because of secondary and bonus points. So that's an interesting sort of push.
No, Bo, that's my cock up. That's where what I've done is I've taken Josh's information, and I've reset it, and I've made an error. So it was actually Carl will be Carl got the wooden spoon. Oh, actually, there's a person below there, isn't there?
Yeah,
I see that.
There's one person in particular who walked away.
One person missing. Let me get this.
We can't see it here because I hope people can see it right now on my screen here. Because not just those. There we go. We have Mike, Joe, Phil, and Gervin.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Gervin had a rough day. 36 units lost.
I can neither confirm or deny that Gerwin asked me to set up the screen, so his name was cut off the bottom.
Oh, and he only had 1 draw and 2 losses. Oh, 1 bonus points and no tertiary or secondary. So he had a rough day. Well, it was Korea. Somebody has to be the guys being mown down by machine gun fire, and apparently that was Gervin's army. Right. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel. Do you guys have any final words you would like to say on all of this? Russell, I'll start with you. And Josh, you can round it off because you were the TO.
So, yeah, great job done by Josh. I felt it went really well on the day. It was a great idea. I think it took a little while to catch on. So I think initially there was a few of us that signed up, and then all of a sudden, word of mouth must have got out or something, because that's when it went to so it was more people than I was expecting, which is brilliant. It was really fun. I love the theming of it. I love the idea of using tertiaries because it just makes the games fun. Like you end up in weird situations where, for example, I was deliberately feeding infantry into machine guns because I had a medic behind them, and one of the tertiaries is your medic rescues 4 people, and I managed to do it on the last round. So I got my 4th rescued, rolled a 6 again, and I was like, I've never rolled for 4 saved infantry in a tournament, let alone one game. And you just get things like that happening, which just makes it really, really good fun. So yeah, it was really good. I really hope you run it next year.
And Josh?
So yeah, I was blown away when I originally thought I might get 6, maybe 8 people going, a bit of a little round robin, and then it just exploded into something that I didn't expect. And so next year it will be on again. The pack should be out. I am talking to John Russell. We have got something a little special in the pipeline for that, and it will more than likely be a 2-day event because I do want to try and entice more people to come. Maybe even Manuel coming over. Maybe I got to speak to him, and hopefully I just want to see more people, because if this can grow and grow every year, turn into something that I'd never expected it to.
Thank you so much, everyone. And that was it from us. Check out next year's Frozen in the Chosin, and we'll see how it goes. Good luck, Josh, and thank you for joining us. Cheers.
Thank you.